Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Jim Rutledge and Pablo Iglesias, outfitted by Iron Jock Apparel, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines. Can they catch him? No! The Badgers answer instantly. There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game. Gordon again! Inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line.
Yes! It's over. The Wisconsin Badgers win 17-9. They are the first Big Ten team ever to win successive Rose Bowl games.
That is the best college sports town in America.
This is the Jump Around, our Badger-dedicated show on ESPN Madison's YouTube stream, and you can stream us on the ESPN Wisconsin app. We got Pablo Iglesias in the Everlight Solar studio. I am Jim Rutledge. I am in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm probably one of the few people in the state that don't actually love the view from where I am at in the Tundra Trio, where I'm looking at the Don Hudson Center and Lambeau Field behind me as well. And it's been a while since the Badgers have played here, so maybe someday the Badgers will have a big game here that matters in the future, Pablo. But the Badgers took care of business 17-0 against Miami of Ohio. And that's where we're going to start today's show, is a new kind of segment we're going to do after games. It's going to be a glass half full, glass half empty way to look at the offense and defense, and we'll also preview Middle Tennessee State. By that, I mean we're just going to set expectations for that game, and we'll get some good audio and video from Barry Alvarez and Luke Fickell, among others. And then Tarek Saleh, the all-time leader in sacks in UW history, will join the show. Pablo, I'm going to let you kick it off, and you can start offensively. You can start with the half full or half empty, but give us both your half full and half empty take for Wisconsin Badgers offense.
This is so interesting to think about because, yes, I think we can all acknowledge that the bar is a little low, unfortunately, because we just don't know. We're excited. Let me... if I were to say this, I'll stick with being the eternal optimist always. That's my attitude. That's what we're going to continue, is half full for the offense, because
give us both here. Give us both. You're
giving
us it's not a one or the other. You're going to give us what was good and what was bad.
Okay. So the half full side of it is that I do feel like that this offense moved efficiently. I think from what Luke Fickell pointed out too in postgame as well, was that what stood out, and I think across all facets of the game in all three phases, but focusing on the offense, is that the guys in the whole team just did not do any situations, did not put themselves in any opportunities to essentially just set themselves up for self-inflicted wounds. I think, again, was this offense perfect? No, but to stay on the half-full side is that they did move effectively. They did move efficiently. Dylan Jones was the lead carrier. He had 5.2 yards per game or per carry on that side in week one. So it was nice to see him lead the way. It was nice to see that obviously he was the lead back and getting the efficient runs or the efficient amount of touches. Luke Fickell also pointing out yesterday too that he felt like that Dylan Jones clearly the lead back, but also Darian got some good carries. Cade got some good carries. They wanted to try to make the run difficult for teams that they were going up against. So I think right now we're in the early stages of it. Jim Polzien, when he was on a couple weeks ago, had mentioned that, you know what, we are setting the expectations a little too high right off the bat for Jeff Grimes, and I think that was a fair assessment going into this, is that yeah, right now we got a little bit of a taste of it. Is this what this is going to look like for the rest of the season? No, but I think we are, from the half full side, looking pretty good from the run game and the efficiency. The half empty is would like to have seen more points right off the bat. I think from the first drive, the one that ended up resulting in a field goal. I would have loved to have seen the Badgers attack and go more for the end zone. It was cool to see Billy go for that one-on-one ball. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition, but that's just what I would have liked to have seen from the half-empty side, is that I think even though that they moved efficiently, they moved effectively, 17 points right now, that just kind of like wasn't the most impressive part of it.
Before we get to my half full and half empty, I want to tell you about our friends at Iron Jock. You actually can see the custom apparel that they can make for you at Iron Jock. That's ironjock.com, Jock with a C. I'm wearing a Jim, Matt, and Molly Iron Jock quarter zip. We have ESPN Madison ones as well, but you can go to ironjock.com to get apparel for yourself, non-branded apparel, but for your team, whether that's work or school team, they can do branded apparel at ironjock.com. That's Iron Jock with a C. Half full, I don't want to get bogged down in the stats or any of that. Here's what I liked. Jeff Grimes got the ball in DJ's hands, in Dupree's hands, in every receiver's hands. Tretch got a handoff early. Vinny Anthony got an easy catch. Grant Steck, they gave the ball to Jackson Aker. Bullard got the ball. There were so many guys that got the ball right away. I think Brooks got it as well. Everyone got the ball in their hands early, so they felt involved. They took some big shots that missed, but Vinny Anthony was open, and those were well-designed shots to be taken. And so I assume at some point Billy and Vinny will flatten that out and get that ironed out there, and then they'll have those big connections later on. But then, Billy gets hurt. Initially, Danny looks like he's flailing a little bit at the end of the half, running the offense that they had kind of manufactured and created for Billy Edwards. At halftime, they come back out, and they set it up with a lot of easy pitch and catch for Danny to the receivers, let them make plays. Then throw over the middle to Grant Steck for a big touchdown opportunity. They gave him an option for a run-pass option on a Vinny Anthony touchdown, and he threw the touchdown there. And they allowed Billy to take advantage of what he does well. So I just thought it was a very simple and smart game plan from Grimes. And the half empty, to me, the offensive line is the obvious one. I think you might see Riley Mahlman out at left tackle this week. I think you're going to see a new left tackle regardless this week. I think you're already going to see movement from this offensive line because they got to have it as figured out as possible immediately because they got Alabama coming up, and you're going to get whoever's playing quarterback killed. And to the other part of it, Billy Edwards leaving that game, I'm glad it's not a major injury, but it would have been great to have him play the whole game and then Middle Tennessee State because then I feel like you got a better chance against a school like Alabama. But overall, I was encouraged by the play calling. The offensive line had some moments. I think there's two guys that pulled and ran into each other, which wasn't great on the offensive line. But overall, working out those kinks and getting better, I think the Badgers have plenty to be excited about. So that's my half full and half empty for the Wisconsin Badgers against Miami of Ohio on the offensive side of the ball.
One more before we get going, more just bigger up from the half full side is there is that talk. Obviously, we're really happy to see that Billy Edwards looks like he's going to be okay, at least from a week-to-week standpoint. But when we saw Danny O'Neal come in, yes, we have had some flashbacks. We had some nightmares, and seeing a little bit of the social media tweets and all that, and saying Braden Locke 2.0. I don't think that that's fair because you look at Danny O'Neal, he comes in, he was a guy who had starting experience. Luke Fickell pointing out after that win too was a key emphasis was why they recruited a guy. They knew that Billy Edwards, clear as day, was going to be quarterback one from a half full standpoint. Again, just to point this out, is that experience was such a huge thing when it came to recruiting guys in the transfer portal. Obviously, yes, Danny O'Neal still has a lot to prove, and Luke Fickell pointed out too that he loves the confidence. He loves how he went out there, and to your point too, Jim, is that it was a good play by Jeff Grimes and company to simplify the plays, not to try to go towards Billy's skill set and try to work it around Danny O'Neal. No, you need to know what talent you have and what you can work with and keep it simple right now versus trying to reinvent the wheel. So from a half full side of it, I do like that hopefully Wisconsin isn't in this situation for the long term, but you could clearly see that experience definitely matters, and it showed a little bit in week one.
Well, now I will take the ball on defensive side of the ball, and the glass full is very easy. They generated pressure. They got turnovers. They held a running quarterback completely in check. I was impressed. I don't care who you're playing, to shut someone out is impressive. And let's not forget that I believe at halftime it was 3-0. So it was a shutout, and the idea that for a lot of this game, it felt like they had to shut out Miami of Ohio to win this game. And they could have won 3-0. And so that's my positive. I was just very impressed with how the defense seemed to be bought in from the start of that game to the finish. I want to see another shutout. I know it's a big ask, but why not? Why not build confidence and have back-to-back shutouts? That stuff matters because when people start doing the counting, it's like, oh, they haven't had a shutout under Luke Fickell. They haven't had one since this date, or they haven't had back-to-back since these dates. That wipes all those out. And it matters when people start trying to write the narrative about Badger football that you can't say that anymore. So that's the positive. The negative is honestly, for me, the half empty is the unknown. I don't know how good or bad Miami of Ohio is. I don't know if Middle Tennessee State's a better team and they look more just in sync. And the Badgers' defense was not why Miami of Ohio looked completely out of sync. But I'm going to go with the half full. Turnovers, pressures, holding that running quarterback in check, and the half empty is just the unknown that I don't know if Miami of Ohio is just terrible. I don't think they had a returning starter, or maybe it was one on offense, so maybe they're good, maybe they're not. So that's my half empty, is just that I don't know how much of an opponent Miami of Ohio was. Hopefully it turns out that they were great and the Badgers defense just throttled a really good team.
Yeah, I might have to piggyback on that one with a half empty of the unknowns, but with the half full is that pressure, is the pressure that the team applied. It's hard to pitch a shutout in general in college football, no matter what the team is, no matter what the program is. The stat that stuck out to me was that they were able to prevent Miami of Ohio from converting on third downs. They went 0 for 9. That is a tough thing to do. Again, regardless of how efficient your offense is, whether it's good or not. But I think again, there was a lot of pressure from what I was seeing from up top. You saw, especially again, a big investment that these Badgers wanted to jump in on was the defensive line and trying to create negative plays, trying to get more TFLs. I think Miami of Ohio and the Badgers ended up going even in that, but regardless, the Badgers were creating some TFLs. They were creating a lot of pressure, and especially DeQuan Finn, who is an athletic dual threat quarterback for the Badgers line, because again, you're investing in guys that are at least 290 and above. I believe on the roster somewhere in that from that front unit, you got at least like 6 guys that are coming in at 290 or more. So that's a huge investment, like I said, and I noticed that pressure was being applied right off the bat, and it was used in a good way versus just kind of chaotic, where it made it really uncomfortable for DeQuan Finn to try to operate. So again, like I said, from you, I want to piggyback a little bit off of that with the half-empty side is, what are we going to see next? How are they going to keep this consistent? I loved that Preston Zachman is, Big Ten Player of the Week too, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week with 2 picks. That's awesome. And I will say, to add one more thing to the half-full side, is that when it comes down to the pressure that the defensive line applied, one of the things too was making sure that that quarterbacks and also running backs did not make it to the second level. I can't say that they were completely perfect from that, but it was still pretty impressive that they wanted to limit as much as possible that the guys in the secondary weren't getting the tackles here, and the guys up front on the defensive line were applying that pressure and making sure that nobody or very little plays were happening in that second level.
All right, the Badgers now move on to Middle Tennessee State, and for me, Pablo, what I'm looking for in this game is, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but I should have, cover the game, cover it. I want another shutout. I want another shutout, at least no touchdowns. I think that's a fair goal. Minimum no touchdowns against from Middle Tennessee State. Shut them out again. Why not? And offensively, it's hard to say what a fair expectation is statistically or points-wise. So I'm going to say continuing this smart play calling from Jeff Grimes. Keep it simple. It's the acronym Keep It Simple Stupid. I'm not calling Jeff Grimes stupid, but the acronym KISS. Just keep it simple. Give it to Dylan Jones.
I'd say silly. You can go with that.
I feel like Jeff Grimes would prefer I called him stupid than silly. So
we'll
just
ask
knowing
him
knowing his personality, if I said hey silly or hey stupid, he might prefer stupid. But
is Jeff Grimes a silly dude?
So with that, with that, regardless, I will go with just keep it simple. Yeah. Give the ball to Jones. Give the ball to Dupree. easy throws for Danny O'Neal for the ball in space with Vinny Anthony, and when it's 4th and goal or 3rd and goal, 2nd and goal, whatever it is, 2nd and 1, give it to the fullback, QB sneak it with Danny, keep it simple. Don't have to show anything because if you've got any chance to beat Alabama, you're going to have a few tricks in your bag, but just keep the offense simple, and then defensively, keep them out of the end zone, and in the perfect world, get a shutout. I'm not saying I'm going to be upset if they don't do those things, but cover is ideal. Get a shutout is even better. No touchdowns is pretty good. And then offensively, just keep the simple momentum going. If you don't have to show a lot, don't. And if you can, I don't know, actually maybe manhandle Middle Tennessee State. You didn't do it against Miami of Ohio, so on the offensive line, manhandle them a little bit. Run for 200 yards with 5 yards per carry. I know the top 2 backs, Dylan and Dupree, did average over 5 yards per carry, and it was Danny and Cade that brought down the average. But still, let's just as a team, over 5 yards per carry.
Let's to dive into the numbers too. Looking at this, the Badgers also only allowed 117 yards total last week, which I think it's fair. I think it's fair to ask that a no touchdown or minimal field goals. Heck, even if Middle Tennessee puts up a couple field goals, maybe 3, something like that.
No touchdowns, I'll be happy.
I think a no touchdown threshold or a wish, I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that's good. It's just very simple. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just you're not throwing out the same game plan for this team, but why not? Why not just keep it rolling? I mean, from what I talked with guys in the postgame, too, there's a good sense of confidence in this group. And it also, too, when it comes to rallying after you lose a guy like Billy, even though from the defensive side it doesn't hurt that side of the ball, it still affects the entire team. So how they were able to rally together, I think, was a really important thing, and that's what I picked up when I talked to the guys. But knowing that they knew exactly what they wanted to tackle, lack of a better word for it, last week, too, with, again, making sure that they created those negative plays, making sure that they applied pressure, making sure that they could rely on one another. I think that was a huge thing. And so, yeah, like what we're saying here, that feels like a very realistic thing that we could shoot for to see this defense pull off. Because, again, if you only allow 117 yards total from last week, and this is a team, too. Last week, Miami of Ohio, as I mentioned, 0 of 9 and third down conversions. Last week, Middle Tennessee State, 0 for 12 in third down tries.
Ooh.
So, I mean, why can't we say how realistic this could be? Could we see another 0 for? I don't think that's unrealistic either.
I think it's a perfect transition to talk about Alabama.
Let's do it.
Barry Alvarez on the Barry Alvarez Show, which was at Roost Chris Steakhouse in Middleton yesterday. It was led into by Jim, Matt, and Molly, and I talked to Barry a little bit off air, and I was not expecting this from Barry Alvarez on the air.
Weeks, Alabama, that game got a lot more compelling, I think, in a lot of ways all of a sudden when Wisconsin goes to Tuscaloosa in a couple of weeks.
Well, I think we can – I said this before the season started. We can compete against Alabama. And not only compete, we can win that football game. There's no question in my mind.
I would guess right now we'll be favorites going into that game.
There you go.
Wow.
I'm just watching Alabama play. That is not a Nick Saban Alabama team. And whether Nick was there or not, and I have great respect for him, believe me. And whoever was there, we would go in there and compete well and have a chance. I'm guessing we will be favorites going in that game.
Absolutely not. Unless they lose to Louisiana Monroe. I'm not saying the Badgers can't win. There's just no way they're going to be favorites. And who cares? In fact, I'm sure if Barry had his preference there, if Barry had his preference, I'm sure he'd prefer to be the underdog. The Badgers under Barry and historically are better as the underdog. But I don't think the Badgers are going to be favorites unless Alabama loses to Louisiana Monroe. And let's not forget one thing. So Florida State last year was bad. But the year before that, they were 8-0 in conference, 13-1 overall, undefeated on the road, undefeated at home. They lost, obviously, a neutral site game there. So Florida State had a down year the year before, but they were a program that was a massive success the year before. And a lot of those players, and look, Florida State is, unfortunately, Wisconsin has not reached Florida State's heights in a while. So as much as I am excited about it, here's what I want. As Pablo, you gave up some of those things. If the Badgers pitch back-to-back shutouts, or if the Badgers don't allow a touchdown to Middle Tennessee State, and then they don't allow a first down or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, this Wisconsin. Then in that broadcast, you see this Wisconsin's defense hasn't allowed a first down this year on third down. This Wisconsin defense hasn't allowed a touchdown this year. Like, those are things that I'd like to see in the broadcast. Maybe another player defensively or offensively wins Big Ten Player of the Week. And so then going into that game, can the Badgers hang and make it interesting? Yeah. Again, I wouldn't bet. It's still a 1 in a million chance they're going to beat Alabama. I think Wisconsin's far away from that. It's funny, last year I liked their chances better because it was at Camp Randall. They had Tyler Van Dyke. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but them being actually picked as favorites seems completely insane. But I don't want to be the favorite. I want the Badgers to be the underdogs in everything this year. Also, Danny O'Neal, either he's going to be a starter, and that's your backup starting at Alabama, or Billy Edwards makes his return after playing a half of football for the Badgers against Alabama. Neither one of those are great. Again, I'm talking for setting the spread. So I love the Barry optimism. Do I think the Badgers got a puncher's chance? Sure. But what I really want is this team to continue to stockpile weird counting stats, so in that broadcast the Badgers sound even more impressive.
I just love the moxie that Coach has. I mean, it's Coach at the end of the day. Like, I mean, you gotta respect how. If he was coaching this team, I don't know how that would have gone. Like, and just to say respectfully, like, it would have been fun to see how he goes out there and just treats like it doesn't matter. Like, you give Barry bulletin board material, I'm sure by all means he's gonna run away with that. I was just looking at the ESPN analytics right now too. That Alabama still has a 77.7% chance win if we want to go down to that decimal point. But that's it's just tough. I don't see something happening this upcoming week where the script can just be totally flipped. And that's just being honest. But hey, like you said, a puncher's chance. If Wisconsin could go into Tuscaloosa and make that happen, that'd be sweet. But right now, it's I think it's just more of using this week as a final tune-up. I think we can all agree with that. And seeing exactly how they're going to come into this. If anything, though, too, I feel like that was more of a proving game for Florida State versus Alabama. Don't get me wrong. You knocked down Alabama when they were a top 10 team, and now they've dropped all the way to 21st. I think this is a good time to catch some napping. Don't get me wrong. Heck, and even with Michigan, too, with how they played. I know that game's still a little bit of ways away.
Michigan's the game I feel better about.
They also dropped. They didn't drop as many spots as Alabama, but I think there were some deficiencies that were pointed out in week one. That's who the heck knows. But going back to Alabama, we'll see. We'll see how this week goes. Use this as a tune-up. We'll see how Alabama responds this week. I don't even who do they have? I'm trying to look.
Louisiana Monroe.
Yep.
Louisiana Monroe,
who they did lose to back in like 2007.
Oh, there he is. If we're talking true eternal optimist, there he is, Riley Yauk joining us here.
Yeah. Before we move on, I mean, I think after watching that, the Badgers could bludgeon Bama if they find a way to run the ball.
They didn't run the ball against Miami of Ohio.
That's why they need to figure it out this week. If they figure it out this week, they'll be A-OK. Danny O'Neal plays the Castellanos role as the running quarterback, and they hang a 50-burger. But
you heard it here first.
I honestly would have been better if Florida State, I would rather Alabama feeling fat.
Yes.
Florida State puts them a little bit we got to show up.
No,
unfortunately.
I totally agree with that. I would have rather had them come back, beat FSU, then beat up on Louisiana Monroe, and then come into Tuscaloosa, 11 a.m. kick.
Napping.
Totally overlooking the Badgers napping, so I totally agree on that. But before we move on, there were a lot of responses to Barry's tweets, or to the ESPN Madison tweet to Barry's quotation. And I want to know which one of these aligns most with your thinking. We have first Jason, I love Barry, but we will not be favorites in that game, but we have a great chance at winning. Tavern Wisconsin Sports, Barry, stop. And Ferg, that's my coach. Time to get some swagger back at UW.
I like that's my coach. Time to get some swagger back. That's how Coach coached. You can hear that with Barry, with Derek England and Tark Silas coming up in a little bit there. He has that swagger. Why not us mentality? That's what you want. Again, it was more the pick to be favorites part that I picked. Yeah, that part's a little bit insane. Do the Badgers have a puncher's chance? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Barry, what he meant by, I don't think he fully understands what the term favorites means. I think his line of thinking was more people are going to think Wisconsin will beat Alabama then we'll think Bama will beat Wisconsin at the end of that week, which is also a bold claim.
Yes.
I'm with the get the swagger back. I think we are all hoping that this Wisconsin swagger returns. We talked about how fans are trying to get them to buy back in, and even just heck from national pundits that I know too, and national writers saying that it was a disappointment in week 1. Luke Fickell failed the first test, and I'm like, I don't know if I would go to those lengths. But with Coach's swagger and this one calling it, he did say though too, he said he would rather play them the following week than this upcoming week because you are going to be absolutely upset after a game like that. So you don't want to run into an Alabama team that is absolutely fuming. So hopefully they get too much of that energy out, and we'll see exactly what happens when the Badgers roll into Tuscaloosa.
Speaking of swagger, Luke Fickell talked a little bit about Danny O'Neal, which is why I think he's different than Braden Locke. And it's not like I knew Braden well, but I do think that Danny O'Neal has a gamer-type feel to him. He reminded me a little bit of Tyler Donovan, Brooks Bollinger, where you're not going to get these beautiful bombs down the field, the Tyler Van Dyke cannon for an arm, Tanner Mordecai just putting everything on point, to use the Luke Fickell QBs. But you are going to get an old-school Badger quarterback that can run around, make some plays, have some moxie. And I love how Luke Fickell described Danny a little bit.
I think it's authentic. I think that probably is one thing in a short amount of time that I've felt, as well as I'm sure the guys have felt. There's a difference. You know, I love an athletic arrogance. You know, they're borderlines on some things that then become cocky that can, you know, maybe rub some people. And I don't mean that you're worried about rubbing people the wrong way, but in a in the complimentary world that we want to be in, but I think he straddles the line. I think he does a really good job. I think it's authentic. I think he really does have a confidence in what he does, and you can see it every single day.
I love athletic arrogance. I love the description of it. Luke probably shortchanged it for whatever reason a little more than he needed to. Athletic arrogance is, and again, we're talking Tarek Sall, the all-time leader in sacks in UW history. I'm sure he played with athletic arrogance. It is a fine line. But you want someone who goes out there and believes in themselves. You don't want someone who thinks they can do things that they can't. So it is a fine line, but you want someone who goes out there and believes in themselves. And that's, look, Barry Alvarez. Athletic arrogance as a coach. You can't go into something thinking, well, we can't, or we're not going to. The Ted Lasso believe. You got to go out there and believe you can do it, or it's not going to get done. So that's what I think Fickell is talking about. And I think if they can continue to recruit players with athletic arrogance, with the why not us attitude, I think that's going to set Wisconsin up. And maybe that was the secret to the Badger sauce from Barry into Brett, into Paul a little bit, of getting those guys that said why not us and have athletic arrogance and have a little chip on their shoulder. And I think that's what Wisconsin needs to find in recruiting, and then it'll show up on the field, and then you can pull off some upsets. They were close last year at Camp Randall for a few of them. So I love the athletic arrogance quote and actually having it for the players.
Yeah, athletic arrogance, I mean, I think applying it to this year's group feels more of like pointing out experience. Define it however you want, Luke Fickell, but it's I kind of see it more of like as the experience side, is that you have guys who have been in situations similar-ish to like this, or who have led guys, and gotten them out of a hole when they face adversity. How the heck are they going to rally these guys, and how are they going to respond to this? And again, it's a different situation. It's how Braden Locke came in back-to-back seasons. The first time when he was trying to relieve Tanner Mordecai, that was his first ever start in college football. I believe so, and that's just a tough situation from there. Whereas Danny O'Neal, again, guy who's a former starter and a non-Power 4 school. Don't get me wrong, but still, at the end of the day, he still has starting experience, which I think, maybe a little bit of that chip on the shoulder, the athletic arrogance, where that comes in. But I think that's definitely something where he's not afraid to go for it. He's not afraid, even though he hasn't been in this specific situation in a Big Ten situation. But he had said to reporters after that win on Thursday that he wanted to go after this. This was an exciting opportunity. He wasn't scared. He wasn't nervous. I mean, he did go to Billy for some advice, and Billy was able to help pick him up, too, when he was able to be on those sidelines. So I think that's commendable in itself, too, that, it's not just Danny O'Neal, but sensing from the other guys, too, the newer faces as well, and even some of the guys that have been around for a couple of years, is that they're ready to answer the call. They're ready to face adversity, and they're ready to do it together.
Let's look at the portal.
It's time for the Badgers Twitter portal.
All right, guys, time to enter the Wisconsin Badgers Twitter portal, starting with this first tweet from Logan B. Robinson, commenting on something Stephen A. Smith said. We're not going to play the full video. It's essentially what the tweet says. Stephen A. Smith rips the ACC for fining Florida State for rushing the field. I think this is utterly ridiculous. This is college, and students live to be able to do this one day. Are you guys pro or anti-field rushing?
In this situation, I'm pro. You take down a ranked team and you're unranked. I say why not, but I wouldn't say if Ohio State had rushed the field because they took down Texas from this past weekend, that would have been absurd. I was jokingly saying, I'm like, oh, is it going to happen? I was hoping it doesn't happen. I'm all for it. I mean, let's look at last year, too. When Vanderbilt took down Alabama, of course you want to storm the field. Of course you want to see that happen. You want to see the field goal post getting taken down all the big streets. We were hoping that was going to happen. The whole map was ready to go when if Wisconsin was going to upset Oregon or Penn State, they had that ready to go. So storming the field, I'm with it, man. But it's not across the board. You got to make sure you pick and choose the right games to do it.
Illinois is at Wisconsin this year, right?
I believe so, yes.
They're ranked 11th.
Yep.
Storm the field if you beat the Illini. So I'm pro. It depends on the state of your program, but storm the field. Make Brett uncomfortable.
Brett's going to hate that.
Storm it. Watch him come up with an excuse of why. They'll try to come up with, we should get 10 points because the Badger fans stormed the field.
They didn't tell us the right guy was wearing the right jersey and all that.
I appeal to the Big Ten because it's never my fault we lose. I will try to skirt and get around every rule humanly possible, but when a team does it to me, I hate it. So, do it. Mark it down. Storm the field. Beat Illinois and storm the field for the Wisconsin Badgers this year. So I'm pro. Honestly, I'll just keep it to the Badgers. If Badger football beats a ranked opponent every time this year until the Badgers are ranked, storm the field.
I love that. Just get after it.
Yeah.
I think in the Big Ten, how much is the fine for storming the field? I think it's like $100,000 per game.
Is it 100? I know that Barry has said that.
I know it's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's not. The SEC bumped it up to $500,000.
I thought that's what it was.
Storming the field
was
this
half,
year
was $500,000, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the students don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. So
it's not coming out of their pockets.
Exactly. I'm all for field
Tuition
storming.
goes up.
And that would suck.
Yeah, actually. Who knows?
Yeah. Add a storm the field fund to the tickets.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the amusement fee, storming fields ticket, or that fee just in case.
Yeah.
Yes.
But even that, I don't think that's going to stop students. Love the field storm. Love that you guys agree. All right. Moving on to Scary Alvarez, not our friend Barry Alvarez. Jump around is such a cool college football idea. I can't believe nobody thought of it before North Carolina. I don't know if you guys saw this, but North Carolina co-opted the jump around and used it as their pregame hype intro in Bill Belichick's debut.
That went so incredibly well too. I'm sure is that what knocked him over.
They did come out and score right away, so maybe it did help.
Maybe juiced him up.
Helped something.
I feel like stealing other schools' traditions the absolute lamest thing you can do. I feel like we have this. It happens too much. This is ridiculous.
I want to be careful here because I don't know every tradition at Camp Randall is unique to Camp Randall or started at Camp Randall. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the jump around is. I don't know about Build Me Up Buttercup. I know Lambeau Field takes things, and then again, it's kind of an homage. Mm-hmm. But I think it's all kind of worth, I don't want to. I'm not saying the Badgers have. I just glass houses. I want to make sure the Badgers haven't repurposed something because that's what you would call the jump around to start the game, was a repurposing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll use this opportunity to, Barry, Scary Alvarez got after me on social and missed the point on the student. I know I was in. It was just where I was. I was in the stadium club.
Totally diverting this right now.
I was in a touchdown club, and I have a point to it. And I pointed out, I took a picture of the empty, and I took multiple photos. I should have taken a picture of the most of the stadium feeling empty, not just the student section, because just to the right The fan section there was empty. The upper bowl was empty most of the game as far as in that area. So there was large chunks of Camp Randall empty for Miami of Ohio. It was not a student section call out. You do need to figure out a way to get the students in faster, absolutely. I'm not dragging the students for it. But also, maybe the Badgers, I did love the Open this year. That was great when the players came out. But steal the idea from VOD Tech. You don't have to do Enter Sandman. But make people have a reason to be there when the game starts. And you can't
Totally
miss
agree.
it. That's what I wanted to get to. I think Auburn has like a lead-in sort of thing. Like, do something where people feel like I can't miss the start of the game. And I think that's something that the Badgers still need to figure out.
Yeah. Don't still jump around at least. We all know that it's an iconic it is an iconic celebration. It's an iconic moment. It is always going to be Wisconsin's thing. I think actually Build Me Up is a volleyball tradition, to jump off of that too, from what I've heard from players over here. So to distinguish that, it is still a Wisconsin tradition, but technically did not start in football, just carried over, which is nice. You love to see that. But it is like, as that's what I was gonna say with Enter Sandman. Like, Wisconsin's not gonna run out and do that. I mean, I
Why
know
not
that.
do it? Do something to make people show up.
Yeah, Penn State. We're just gonna rage bait now. That's what we're gonna do. Just start doing that across
just
college
pick a
football.
different Metallica song then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
One. There you go.
Anything.
Running out to one would be so anticlimactic.
No, even if they already had the most anticlimactic song with Where the Streets Have No Name by U2.
Yeah.
Pick another random song, and if they just hype the crap out of it, at least for one game, I feel like the students would show up. Like, just promote the heck out of it, do a giveaway, hype it, I don't know, like give out money to students. I don't know, anything to get students
hand
into
out
their
the cash
seats as quickly as
and make it
possible.
easier for them to come in too, for sure.
Exactly, and space it out more. Last one here as the music runs out. It's the first day of classes.
Yes.
UW-Madison, good morning, Badgers. Welcome to the fall 2025 semester. We wish you a successful start to your academic year. Let's begin. What's your guys' best memory from college on this first day of classes?
Best memory.
Here's my memory. I started in Wisconsin, went to like 4 or 5 different colleges, wrapped up at Florida Atlantic University. So the time I wasn't in college the whole time, but 10 years to finish college, and the experiences throughout were all pretty great. And going to school with palm trees and being able to see the ocean from FAU Stadium, pretty amazing. That was a post-college one because I wasn't the stadium wasn't finished when I was there, but the stadium was being built. So my last year there at FAU, they, for the first time ever, had an on-campus stadium. So going to school in South Florida was pretty amazing.
This is a very unique one. This wasn't first day of my classes, but definitely part of first day of school, or first day of being on campus. As so proud Bradley Brave too, a Peoria, Illinois, Central Illinois guy. One of the things that we were known for my fraternity, Lambda Chi, roll chops baby, was we were playing. Jim, you got to ask Matt too if he knows about this. A Swedish game. It's called Kub. It is one of the most unique games ever. So we played that on the quad. Everybody
very
always,
popular in Stoughton, Wisconsin.
Yes, it is. So it's good to know that there were local ties. I was so surprised when I found out that Kub was a popular game close by. When I found out about that, we would play that. If you haven't seen it, look it up. Basically, the way to win this, like the game-winning shot, you got to call it game. You throw like this wooden stick at a giant wooden.
Kub
pillar.
rocks. Dude, Kub is such a great game.
That is a specific college memory for me. Love it. It was always unique to us. That's something that, because especially around this time of the year too, first day of classes or when you're on campus, and weather was nice, you got to hang out on the quad. We loved it. That was our thing, like I said.
Well, I am informed here that our guest, Ark Sala, the all-time leader in Sacks UW history, I'm not sure if it's technical issues or what, but we are not hearing from him, receiving text or calls, and it is 11 minutes past when we're supposed to have him, so I'm guessing that something came up and he won't be able to join us. So
Amen.
I do not want to forget to tell everyone about Steinhafels extending their Labor Day sale. They're celebrating the start of the Green Bay Packers season. Right now, save 10% off store-wide and choose 36-month 0% financing. Plus, you'll score a $100 Packers gift card when you spend over $1,999. But hurry in. This is your last chance for Labor Day savings on all the best mattress brands with up to 60 months, 0% financing. Steinhafels, proud partner of the Green Bay Packers. Shop in-store or online anytime at steinhafels.com. All right, well, unfortunately, we will not have Tarek today, but we had a great show. Shout out to Riley Yauk for producing, Pablo for being a part of the show, and I got to do the show up at the Tundra Trio. I'll be back at it later today with Jim, Matt, and Molly live from the Tundra Trio as well. But this has been The Jump Around, a Badger-dedicated show on ESPN Madison's YouTube and streaming on the ESPN Wisconsin app.